5 years of Iranti org, I absolutely feel like it's an amazing moment of just being, to have the ability to look back and reflect on our achievements in so many ways.
Iranti is an activist organization. It's an advocacy organization. It's also an organization that looks after the well-being of the movement.
My memory of Iranti org's first beginnings comes to me wrapped in immense pain and joy. The grime murder of Tsopelo Makotla in Kuruman in 2012 put Iranti org on the hate crime / investigative journalism map in South Africa. For nights and days on end, Jabu and I agonized over that murder. In many ways, Tsapelo's mutilated body had become a collective mutilation. A part of us had died with Tsapelo because we were and still are those people. Now, since that painful June 2012, Iranti org has become quite something of a wonder. And it is unbelievable that so much time has passed between June 2012 and now.
We really see the work that we're doing to fight off and to stand against homophobia and transphobia and intersex phobia in a continent that is essentially pretty harsh around all three of these aspects. And so when we're resisting, we're really resisting a complete denialism of LGBTI people as an identity, as a right of existence.
One of the major achievements was a meeting with Luthuli House, with the ANC, in the first year of its existence, after Iranti documented the murder of a gay man in the Northern Cape. And the National Hate Crimes Working Group have had so many meetings for years, and I think with Iranti's intervention, it immediately became a public issue, and I think that is really important.
Ultimately, when we speak about an LGBTI community, and for us an LTI community, we are really speaking about that we are going to resist the invisibility that perpetuates and affects our way of living.
There has to be a process of degendering. So we say we decolonize, but we know that gender as a construct has been a pivotal construct of colonization used to organize and reorganize society, to put us in different boxes and to say that you're allowed to do that, but you're not, and you're allowed to do that and you're not.
All we desire is freedom, safety, economic empowerment. That is ultimately what we have come to be, to be known, and the formulation of our work to be structured in that way.
It's quite revolutionary. If you look at media and reach and accessibility, you don't need to have a certain level of literacy to be able to understand a story on film, as opposed to a PhD thesis or a research paper. And so it's about how can we reach the most people possible in order to bring about the change that we want to see in the world, the change in attitudes, the change in behavior.
We're saying we are recognizing that when we're speaking about trans rights, for example, we cannot be making media for ourselves. We've got to make and move into our households, into communities, religious sectors, and government where there's a high level of transphobia. How do we change those mindsets? How do we change those attitudes?
What we basically talking about is that the LGBTI members should start speaking out on issues that affect them in their communities. They need to start being visible so that people can see that they are there and they are there to stay. So Zagala has been established since 2015. And the reason why we established Zagala is because we wanted to make sure that we have a program that contributes into developing CBOs, which are community-based organizations. Now, all these organizations, they came in where they learned media documentation, and currently they are documenting their own stories on the ground.
From Iranti's inception, there was always a regional aspiration. And so if you look at the founders of the organization, there's of course Jabu, who's South African, and Neo from Kenya.
Je pense que c'est très important parce que c'est une occasion d'apprendre les uns des autres, premièrement. Deuxièmement, je pense que ça peut permettre de créer un réseau pour les personnes trans pour faire avancer nos droits.
Le défi pour les personnes transgenres en Côte d'Ivoire, il faut dire que les populations sont en marge de la société parce que chez nous, quand une personne ne respecte pas le code social,
Iranti's regional work in Kenya is very much noticed and appreciated. And this is through their recent documentation of the transgender gains in Kenya. And I feel like if Iranti continues to do this, then there will be a realization that trans movement in Africa is actually going somewhere, and this can be realized into spaces outside of Africa. It's very nice when there's an organization outside your country that is also working in line with what you're doing in country, and kind of have those two synergize.
In terms of our work globally, one of the most recent successes that we've had is with advocating for the appointment of the United Nations Independent Expert on Sexual Orientation and Gender Identity, or the SOGI Independent Expert. And we did this together with Pan-Africa ILGA. Another issue that we've worked on globally is of course with the World Health Organization with regard to transgender health.
The general issue with the way it is now is gender identity means that it is classified under mental illnesses. You know, it's like diagnosed as a disorder, which makes me feel as a trans person that there's something wrong with me.
I have many issues really, mostly with the language that it uses, but also with the fact that if we are going to talk about gender identity not as a mental illness, if we are going to even depathologize it, then how do we do that within a document that is about diseases?
I think what is so exciting about thinking about Iranti's future and looking forward, that now 5 years later, for example, we can say, oh, we have substantive evidence on violations, and we can track them, and we can look at what are the kind of interventions that we want to see in terms of policy and legal reform and so forth. I think going forward, I see that only strengthening.
He held my neck and he strangled it so hard. I felt like I'm losing my breath.
They want to see me dead, maybe. They wanted to see me dead.
Welcome to Pi 2016.
It's important to get people in one room.
Power to us. I'm a proud intersex, and I'm proud of who I am. There's no way I would change for anyone. I would like to say to all the medical doctors that Kikopale refer chance as intersex people to make our own decision.
I am a decolonial revolution calling for restitution. I am the hopes and dreams of a trans refugee.
All right.